Now, it's basically as simple as that. We have learned a whole load of lessons along the way. The most important one, I would say, for anybody thinking of doing anything like that, as I'm sure a lot of people in this room are already doing it, is for goodness sake, don't say you're going to do it and then not deliver, because you'd be better never to have started. And also, you need a hell of a lot of ability to just keep going, because you get a lot of setbacks, especially in large bureaucratic organisations. Hearing earlier on about the problems of bureaucracy getting in the way, just as big in my organisation, and I suspect in a lot of others as well. But it has worked. We've seen, we heard our colleagues up the road in Walsall have been doing something similar, and slightly different approach, but producing similar results in their staff surveys as we have seen. And so it is working, but we need to keep going. In terms of the future, we are looking at moving more to a sort of John Lewis model, maybe in sort of employee-controlled, employee ownership type of model, which the current coalition government seems quite interested in. So there's more to come. It's really just the beginning, but interesting times.
Lovely. Thank you very much indeed. Right, I'm going to throw it open to questions, comments from the audience. I do have 2 questions here, and I will bring those in sort of accordingly. So can I just see some hands from the floor? Right, there's a lady right there. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Sorry, could you say who you are?
I will.
Where you're from?
My name's Zoe Van Dyke. I'm a regional organiser for Unison. At the very beginning of this conference, and I can't remember who said it, but maybe several people said it, they talked about honesty and that being an important part of the process. I think we have some difficult times ahead. Well, and we all know we have some difficult times ahead. And I for one, as a trade union official, will look for dialogue wherever it can be found, where we can find common ground. But I'd like to come back to this question of honesty, because we've also heard people talking today about the current economic climate as being an opportunity to change the way we work. And I think if employers are genuinely wanting to engage with the trade unions and they start to try and dress this up as an opportunity, they're going to meet hostility from the members that we have that are saying, these cuts are not just going to be about reducing the numbers of staff. In many cases, they're about closing down services altogether. In Kent, where I work, Kent County Council is talking about closing down all of its residential homes now. So there won't be any jobs left for those people. So to start the process of engagement by describing it as an opportunity, I think is going to be the kiss of death to any meaningful types of discussions with the trade unions at the present time.
Okay, thanks very much. Can I see somebody else? There's a lady here. And then there's a gentleman at the back over there.
Jane Phillips from the Driving Standards Agency. I'd like to go back to something you said this morning, Nita, which actually is slightly at odds with what the previous ladies just said about opportunities and challenge. First of all, I'm going to take back to my organisation the mantra of better, cheaper, as opposed to more for less, because I do think that use of language is incredibly important at this particular time. But this morning, listening to all the speakers, very inspired by it all, but that feeling of, as a gardener, if you're asked when's the best time to plant a tree, the answer is always going to be at least 5 years ago. And I have this feeling that I want my staff engaged, and I want it now, because we need the sort of solutions and ideas and inspiration that will come from that, but we need it before the spending review reports in September. I'd be interested in views from the panel as to how I get away from that feeling of being the rabbit in the headlights and draw breath and go back to how do we actually deliver this as long-term change, but with some short-term and immediate impact where we can.
Terrific. Thanks very much. The gentleman at the back over there? From Hereford. Am I right?
John Howden from Hereford Hospitals. I'd be interested in the panel's views, please, as to how you can engage a group of highly powerful individuals who tend to come out and fight their own corner when it suits them, rather than entering into a partnership arrangement with the rest of the trade union bodies.
Would you like to name names? Or I think we all know who you're talking about.
If it's not going to be held against me, if I do it on the basis of Chatham House, then I am experiencing great difficulty with the BMA. I can get buy-in from Unite, from Unison, the RCN, but we are struggling with engagement with the BMA in any meaningful way.
I think you better take that argument outside. But the point about
that could be the subject of legal action, I think. But yes, okay, fine.
But I think the point about special interest groups, more generally, I think is absolutely, a very good question. Is there somebody else who wants to contribute from the floor, and then I'll ask the panel? Yes, there's a lady there.
Hello, Penny Gray from Unison Bucks County. I think it's going to be very hard to engage with staff because we've had years and years and years of cuts, restructures, you name it, what have you. The staff are fed up with it. What they want to do now is keep their heads down and keep a job. However, it's going to be hard to keep those jobs because realistically, people are not going to have living wages anymore, especially what the Condemn Party have decided that although we're all having frozen wages for the time being, for the next 2 years, it's going to be frozen. £250 for those earning under 21,000, but in leafy bucks, 21,000 is not a realistic living wage. So I don't really know how we're going to engage people.
Thank you. So we've had the problem of initiative fatigue added to by pay issues. We've had the special interest group question too. Right, let's throw these open to the panel. Hugh.
Well, I was struck by what the first. It's nice to see all these union names here. It's good. But what Zoe said about honesty, I think that is a key, and I think it answers some of the other questions that. If management isn't truly honest and transparent about what they're saying, both in terms of what the agenda is, what the real purpose is, and whether they're prepared to listen at all in that process, and whether it's capable of change, then I think it is a doomed exercise from the beginning. If there's going to be one outcome, and the outcome is where management start off, then what is the point or the purpose of the consultation? And I'll just give you one example before I'm told to shut up. But we look after people in revenue and customs, and we're told that the point of the public expenditure cuts is to reduce the deficit. Every tax inspector collects £600,000 more than they cost. But we know that that is not a solution that is acceptable to employ more people to reduce the public deficit, because they've said that's not on the agenda. And therefore, I think if there's going to be the consultation and engagement, which I think is very difficult, then management at all levels, senior and as well as in the government, have to accept that there can be an answer that isn't the one they started with. And I think to the DSA, again, nice to hear of a civil service voices, just start now. I mean, there's, if you didn't start 5 years ago, begin now, but it's still got to be that genuine, engaged process. And I would say you haven't got a hope unless you engage the unions in that process. You won't do it on an individual basis. You've got to do it through collective processes.
John.
Yeah, I mean, I'd certainly, it's a difficult situation, isn't it? Even in NHS, we're talking about 15 to 20 billion pounds of savings, and given that we're 70% labour costs, that has to mean less jobs. And I thought one of the most disingenuous things from all parties before the election was this idea that all these savings in money didn't mean less jobs. That's clearly nonsensical, isn't it? We seem to be getting more into reality now, but there is a big problem there. I absolutely agree with the sentiment that honesty is the only way of going at it. The worst thing you can possibly do is to sort of try and dress it up as something it isn't, or resort to management speak. That just switches everybody off really quickly. I think you have to give a very honest message, and you have to give a very straightforwardly worded message. I mean, one of the things I was chatting to people earlier on, one of the things I'm wrestling with at the moment is that we're moving from 2 hospital sites to 1. That is a more productive model, but unfortunately productive overall means less jobs. Not hugely less, because there'll be a lot of alternative jobs in community settings, but nevertheless it's the same problem. We have exactly the same thing. People like the idea of a new hospital. They know it means a sort of a positive future going forward, but they also know that new buildings cost more money, and those costs have to be offset because people aren't daft. So the crucial thing is not to try and finesse your way through that, just be absolutely straight down the line, isn't it?